enter a place in large numbers, especially with intrusive effect. Now, I'd say yes, technically that's correct, but I agree it's being used possibly for inflammatory purposes. What I object to, if you don't want to use the word invade, I want you to stop your callers, especially from the liberal left and from the political classes, referring to, for example, trafficking. Technically, absolutely none of these people are being trafficked. Refugees and asylum seekers, not a single one of the people crossing the channel is an asylum seeker or refugee because they're coming from a safe country, France. Language is important, and the problem is that language is being hijacked by the left and the ruling classes to justify wholesale and huge immigration to the country, which the majority of working class people, poor people, who are the ones that suffer because it's their GP surgeries and their schools and their housing estates that are being filled up and put pressure on, are the ones who suffer. Whereas, and this ties into the story about high wages because the lack of free, cheap labour coming in immigration, that's good for the people working in supermarkets, by the way. Not good for people like you who want an illegal immigrant to clean their car or clean their house.
All right. OK. I'd like to challenge you on a few things, but I'm fortunate that we can have someone who can give us some input for both of our sides. Nick, grateful, and I hear what you say about the importance of words, but we must break off to welcome to the conversation Robert Jenrick, who's a Conservative MP and Immigration Minister, who joins me now. Now, I understand you went down to the Manston camp in Kent on Sunday, Minister. What did you see? Good morning.
Good morning, Nick. Well, the conditions are poor at the camp, but they are improving, and that my job is to ensure that they do so very rapidly. This was a facility that was designed for between 1,000 and 2,000 people. There are currently more than that housed there temporarily. We need to get those individuals out of the camp and into better accommodation as swiftly as possible. And we are procuring hotels, getting them online every day so that that can happen. And already the population of Manston is falling. I hope it will fall every day this week.
I note that some local authorities are fighting back against attempts to book up hotels to house asylum seekers in their areas. Would you welcome them to hotels in Newark?
Well, there isn't one in Newark, but there are very near to my constituency. And I appreciate the concerns of local authorities and communities. Of course I do. Having said that, we are seeing very large numbers of individuals crossing the channel, 40,000 already this year, and that is placing immense pressure on our infrastructure. We can't plan as a country for that number of people to cross the channel illegally in a single year. It's very difficult. And so what we are trying to do, of course we want to treat people as humanely and compassionately as possible. That's our kind of country that we are, those are our values. But we have to try to spread those individuals out as evenly as we can across the country so that no one place is unduly put under pressure. And so that does mean booking hotels in multiple locations across the country whilst we try to fix this problem. And we fix the problem firstly on the domestic side by processing the claims as quickly as we can, but internationally by bearing down on the despicable gangs and criminals who are bringing people across the channel and working with other countries like France, like Albania, to try to deter people from making these crossings.
You say you're dealing with compassionately. One of your Conservative colleagues, an MP in the area, says, Roger Gale says this is almost a manufactured crisis, Minister. Is he wrong?
Well, I have great respect for Sir Roger Gale. In fact, I spent Sunday evening with him at Manston, and he's an exemplary constituency member of Parliament who has been following this issue very closely. He, I think, was the first to say himself that the Manston site was operating well just a matter of weeks ago and can work well if we can reduce the number of individuals who are being accommodated there. My job is to reduce that as quickly as we can.
But he said it was manufactured. He is wrong then when he says it's manufactured.
Well, I haven't heard those comments. I've spent a lot of time talking to him, so I can't comment on those. I'm certainly not going to criticise him because he's been extremely helpful to me and to the government in the work that we're trying to do at Manston. And he appreciates the challenge that we face because if you have 1,000 people literally being hooked out to the sea by Border Force, Royal Navy, RNLI, their lives saved by those services, brought to Dover, given basic care, they're then brought to Manston in this extreme situation for their initial processing, staying for ideally around 24 hours and then moved off around the country. If thousands of people arrive in a single week, that is very difficult for us to deal with. That's what we're coping with right now. I want us to deal with that in a better way than we are at the moment, and I'm working very closely with my Home Office team to do that. But I have to be straightforward with the public that if we see 40,000 people making this journey every year, arriving on those beaches and at ports like Dover, it is going to be very hard for us to have the infrastructure to manage that situation.
Yes or no? Is it an invasion?
Well, the term that the Home Secretary used was an expression of the very serious situation that we find ourselves in. And you can choose your whichever phrase you want to.
Would you use the word invasion?
Well, I think that without doubt, the numbers of people that we're seeing crossing the channel at the moment are off the scale. They are overwhelming the infrastructure that we have in place, and they are putting immense pressure on our asylum and immigration system. And many millions of people across the country will be extremely concerned about that, because it is a right of the British public to have confidence that their asylum and immigration system is robust and that their borders are secure.
It is an invasion.
Well, you could choose whichever phrase you want to use.
No, I didn't choose any phrase, respectfully. The Home Secretary used that word. I just wanted to confirm that you concur with that word.
I've explained, Nick, what the Home Secretary was expressing, and that is that the numbers of people we're seeing crossing the channel are extremely high, and that is an intolerable situation. People are rightly very concerned about that.
So you support the use of the word invasion?
Well, I think you have to choose your words extremely carefully.
And did she?
But 40,000 people crossing the channel is an intolerable situation.
What is the draw
and we
to the
should
United
not allow
Kingdom?
that.
Why is it that would appear so many, for instance, Albanian males are attracted to the United Kingdom? Why?
Well, it's multiple factors. Some are things we will never be able to change as a country. The English language, our strong labour market, our vibrant economy, all the reasons why millions of people, billions of people across the world would choose to make the United Kingdom their home if they had the opportunity. Other things are more within our control, like the fact that our asylum system is set up in such a way that a very high proportion of those people coming here are ultimately granted the right to stay, around 75%, which is more than some comparable countries like France and Germany.
In France, it's 28%. In Germany, it's 55.5%. In Italy, it's a little over 50%. In the United Kingdom, as you rightly referenced, Minister, it's 76%. Why?
It's a combination of factors. It's the laws, the case law, the way in which our courts and tribunals operate, and of course the mix of individuals who choose to come here from the countries that they come from. I think we need to tackle that, because at the moment the UK, I'm afraid, is a magnet for migrants, and we simply don't have the infrastructure in the UK at the moment to accommodate that. And we've seen that very vividly over the course of this year, where we have rightly tried to support Ukrainians, Afghans, Hong Kongers coming to the UK to seek refuge. And I want the UK to be a big-hearted, opening, warm and welcoming country to those individuals. But it is immensely difficult to provide that kind of welcome and support at the scale that we're currently experiencing. And so we will need to take some radical options in the months ahead to bear down on this challenge and ensure that fewer people are making these dangerous crossings, putting themselves at the behest of dangerous gangs.
Last couple of minutes together. Sir Tony Blair, the former Prime Minister, suggests a digital ID card could track down an employers giving jobs to people who come to this country. Does that have your support?
No, I'm not in favour of ID cards. I've never been attracted to it. I don't think that we're that kind of country. I do think there may be other things that we can do in the labour market to make it more challenging for employers to employ or to pay illegal migrants. Because the case you gave earlier of Albania, for example, a quarter of all migrants coming to the UK this year have come from Albania. They are mostly young males. They're coming here for economic reasons, sometimes for criminality. And so I want my border force and immigration enforcement teams to be working overdrive in the months ahead to tackle the businesses that are breaking the law and employing these individuals.
Last couple of questions. LBC is running a story that a senior Home Office figure believes migrants being detained at these camps rather than moved to hotels nearby is because a lot of the areas around there in Kent are Conservative supporting areas, and that's why it's sought to move people out of those particular constituencies. Might that be accurate?
No. The people who live in Kent have faced a huge burden as a result of illegal migration, not just this year, but over many, many years. And I have huge sympathy for them and their local councils, the work that they have had to do on behalf of the whole country. We are working to try to disperse individuals across the whole of the United Kingdom so that this burden is borne fairly. There's no politics in that. It's a simple matter of practicality. But that is a symptom of the problem, which is that too many people are crossing the channel illegally in these small boats, and our job is to try to tackle that. There are no easy answers to that, but that is what Suella Braverman and I will be doing, and I think you can tell, I hope, from what I've said this morning and what Suella said in the House yesterday, that we will be tackling this as hard as we possibly can in the months ahead.
Lastly, you did mention the Home Secretary. Ask this, Minister, if you'd broken the ministerial code 6 times in 6 weeks, would you expect an invitation to return to Cabinet?
Well, the Home Secretary apologised for her breach of the ministerial code, which was an inadvertent one, in messaging another parliamentarian with a document. I don't think that the other emails that she referred to in her statement to the Home Affairs Select Committee yesterday were breaches of the ministerial code, as I understand it. But for the one that she did make, she apologised and she resigned, and that is the honourable thing to do. The new Prime Minister chose to reappoint her because he had confidence in her determination to tackle this issue alongside me. Grateful for your time today. Thank you. Immigration Minister Robert Jenrick appearing here on LBC, where it's 3 minutes after 8. News is next.
On your radio, on Global Player, and
Play LBC.
Leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC.
From Global's news